Welcome back, Ghost Dreamers. Today we're diving into Welcome to Derry, the chilling prequel that uncovers how the terror in Derry began before the It movie. I'll be breaking down 2 episodes in each video, taking you through all 8 nightmare-filled chapters. Before we start, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more spine-tingling recaps. All right, turn down the lights. It's time to meet Welcome to Derry. The series begins in January 4th, 1962. We see a 12-year-old young boy named Matty Clements sneaking into a Capitol theater to watch a film, but the theater staff member, Cal, catches him. Matty runs and hides in the lobby. A girl named Roni Grogan notices him hiding. When Cal reaches the lobby looking for Matty, Roni's father, Hank Grogan, the theater's projectionist, walks in and asks Cal what happened. Cal explains that this is the 3rd time he has seen Matty sneaking into the theater this week. Hank suggests letting the boy go because no one has ever seen Matty's family and the kid clearly seems alone. But Cal refuses to listen. They ask Roni if she saw Matty. Roni says yes and points Cal in the opposite direction. Cal rushes off. Matty uses the chance to slip out of the building. In the cold night, he walks alone down the road trying to hitchhike out of Derry town. A family car eventually stops. A husband, his pregnant wife, and their 2 kids. They ask Matty where they need to drop him. Matty answers, anywhere except Derry. The family tells Matty they are on their way to Portland. At first, they seem kind and friendly. The little boy in the backseat keeps spelling random words out loud, but the older sister starts acting strange. She opens her lunchbox, touches a slimy goo inside, and tries to smear it on Matty. Then, the little boy tries to spell the word trouble, but he can't. Instead, the whole family suddenly begins laughing in a manic way. Matty looks out the window and realizes something horrifying. The car is not heading toward Portland at all. They have driven straight back into Derry. Panicking, Matty begs them to stop the car, but they ignore him. Then the entire family begins loudly spelling out, word together, slowly, letter by letter, as the pregnant wife goes into sudden labor right there in the car. But what she gives birth to is not a baby. It is a winged demon creature. The demon newborn launches itself at Matty, brutally attacking and killing him. As he dies, Matty's pacifier falls and drops into a nearby stream, water that flows straight into Derry's sewers. And just like that, Matty becomes another victim of Pennywise. The scene shifts to 4 months later, April 1962. We meet Phil Malkin, a kid who is obsessed with watching military planes land at the airbase near Derry. A new plane arrives. Major Leroy Hanlon steps out, along with Captain Paulie Russo. Both are Air Force officers who served in Korea. They are welcomed by Colonel Fuller, who tells them that this is the closest U.S. airbase to Soviet airfields, which makes the base extremely important. And the only town connected to this base is Derry. Paulie casually asks about the restricted area of the base, a section sealed off with heavy security. Fuller simply says it's for a special classified project and gives no details. Fuller then asks Hanlon if he'll be staying in the base quarters for now. Hanlon says yes, only until his new house in town is ready. Later, inside the base, everyone salutes Major Hanlon and Captain Paulie as they walks in. Everyone except Master, a racist soldier who refuses to salute because Hanlon is black. A moment later, General Shaw arrives, sees what's happening, and warns Master that he'll face a court-martial if he continues. Only then does Master finally salute Hanlon. We also meet another black character, Dick Halloran, who watches Major Hanlon with suspicion. Next, at Derry High School, we meet a girl named Lily Bainbridge. Everyone in the hallway stares at her, and when she opens her locker, a pickle jar falls out, making the other students burst into laughter. Her only friend, Marge Truman, doesn't laugh at her. Marge walks with Lily, and the 2 head to class together. Meanwhile, Phil immediately starts building wild theories in his head, convinced the military is hiding something. He tells his friend Teddy Uris that the base must be experimenting on aliens, maybe even creatures captured from the Red Planet. Phil says the aliens are probably hidden somewhere in Derry, but Teddy ignores all of Phil's wild theories and brushes them off as nonsense. Later at night, Teddy remembers that it has been 4 months since Matty disappeared. Phil says Matty is probably dead or ran away because he had no friends. Teddy argues that they were Matty's friends. But Phil disagrees and says Matty wasn't really their friend. His mom only gave them chocolates so they would show up for his birthday, and even then, they forgot to go. The argument gets heated, and Teddy finally storms off in anger. In the next scene, Lily remembers a moment with Matty. He had taken her to the old viewing deck, a place that had been closed for years. The caretaker had stopped locking the door, so Phil, Teddy, and Matty used it as their secret hangout. Matty told Lily not to tell the boys he brought her there, and she agreed. While they were eating snacks, they found the little toy surprises inside. Lily got a rocket ship again, which she didn't like because she always ended up with the same one. Matty got a turtle, so he offered to trade his turtle for her rocket ship. Later, Matty asks her, "What happened to your dad?" Lily tells Matty that her father died in an accident at the jarring plant on Willoughby, where he worked. She, her mother, and her father were leaving the factory when she remembered she had forgotten her toy inside. Her father went back to get it, and while he was there, a machine jammed. It wasn't even his station, but he tried to help. He climbed into the gears, thinking he had shut off the power, but he had only switched off his own station while the machine was still active from another control point. By the time the foreman noticed, it was too late. Lily blames herself, but Matty tells her she couldn't have known and that it was just a tragic accident. Later, Lily and Matty watch the New Year's fireworks together. Matty wishes her a happy new year and leans in to kiss her, but Lily pulls back. Embarrassed and ashamed, Matty runs off. That same night, he is killed by Pennywise. In the present, Lily's mother tells her that they will be visiting her father's grave the next day, noting that it has been a year since their last visit. Lily replies that she is still not ready. After her mother leaves, Lily suddenly hears Matty's voice coming from the bathtub drain, repeating the word trouble. She begs him to come back home, but Matty shouts that he won't let me. Then a single finger suddenly pokes out of the drain. Terrified, Lily screams. The next day, Lily tells Marg everything that happened. But when Marg notices a popular girl, Patty, and her friend nearby, she quickly pulls Lily into the bathroom and tells her to stop talking crazy. Lily insists that she really did hear Matty's voice, but Marg doesn't believe her. Frustrated and hurt, Lily storms out, but Marg stops her. Lily asks if she's worried about people judging her, or worried that Patty and the others will judge Marg for hanging out with her. Marg, frustrated, tells Lily that she is trying to be a good friend, but sometimes Lily makes it really difficult, and Marg storms out. In the next scene, Phil and Teddy find Lily at the viewing deck. She says she needs to talk, and Phil assumes Matty told her about their old secret spot, though they only brought him there once. Lily is confused, thinking they were best friends, but Phil says it's complicated. Lily insists she heard Matty's voice, but Phil calls it impossible. Matty would have to be alive, know every pipe in Derry, know the exact moment Lily was taking a bath, and magically send his voice and a finger through the drain. Teddy also says he wants to believe her, but isn't sure. Hearing that, Lily walks away in silence. In the following scene, Hanlon meets General Shaw, who informs him that Masters will be punished with a week of cleaning the toilets and will receive a citation on his permanent flight record, saying he won't tolerate that kind of behavior on his base. Shaw then mentions that he knows Hanlon served under General Abbott in Korea, who described Hanlon as one of the bravest pilots he'd ever seen. Someone who flew a B-29 through Mig Alley, straight into Soviet anti-aircraft fire at Suiho, and still made it back. Hanlon quietly replies that he does, and prefers not to talk about Korea, because they never finished the job. Shaw explains that this is exactly why Hanlon has been transferred here, to test their new B-52 and, if necessary, fly it directly into enemy territory. The scene shifts here. At home, Teddy is reading his comic book when his bedside lamp suddenly switches off by itself. He turns it back on, but it shuts off again. Moments later, the lamp seems to come to life. Teddy screams and jumps out of bed as the lamp rolls toward him on its own, terrifying him. But the moment his brother rushes in, after hearing the screams, the lamp is gone. The next morning, the boys and Lily gather at the viewing deck, and now Phil admits he believes Lily after Teddy's lamp incident. But when Teddy suggests telling someone, Lily says she'd be sent back to Juniper Hill Psychiatric Ward and no one would believe them. So Teddy decides they'll keep quiet until they learn what really happened to Matty. Lily says she knows where to start. Later, Teddy, Lily, Phil, and Phil's sister Susie go to the library to look into Matty's disappearance. They find a newspaper article stating that Matty was last seen on January 4th at the Capitol Theater, spotted by an employee's daughter, an unidentified 12-year-old girl. But the group immediately realizes they know exactly who that girl was, Roni. Later, the group goes to speak with Roni about Matty, but she refuses at first, explaining that after Matty disappeared, the police repeatedly interrogated her and even tried to blame her father, Hank, because he was black. But when she learns the kids have also been hearing voices through the pipes, Roni finally opens up and admits that she, too, hears someone singing and calling her from inside the pipes. That night, in the airbase quarters, Hanlon is asleep when 3 intruders break in and attack him, demanding information about the B-52. Hanlon refuses to talk, so one of them prepares to shoot him. Just then, Polly bursts in, and together he and Hanlon fight off the intruders, forcing them to flee. Later at night, Roni takes the kids to the Capitol Theater to figure out which song Lily heard through the pipes. She thinks it came from The Music Man, the same movie Matty watched earlier. While Roni goes to load the reel, Phil and Teddy break down, feeling guilty for not being better friends to Matty. When the film starts, the kids are shocked to see Matty appear inside the movie, holding a wrapped baby. They call out to him, telling him they came to bring him back. But Matty refuses, saying they're all the reason he died. His smile twists into Pennywise's, and he releases the monster baby, which flies out of the screen into the theater. As the kids try to escape, the demon baby kills them one by one. Lily hides under a seat while Roni, trapped in the projection room, breaks the glass to get out and runs toward the theater. Lily reaches for Susie to pull her to safety, but the baby kills Susie as well. Roni bursts into the theater and finds Lily covered in blood. Lily tells her they're all gone. They rush out of the hall and lock the creature inside, only to notice Lily is still holding Susie's severed hand. Horrified, both girls scream and the episode ends. Episode 2 opens inside the theater, showing Lily's point of view of how the demon baby killed Teddy, Phil, and Susie before she jolts awake from the nightmare. In the next scene, 2 officers wait outside Roni's house. The police and townspeople are blaming the children's murders on Roni's father, Hank, who works at the Capitol Theater, targeting him out of racism. From the officers' conversation, we learn that no bodies were found at the scene, only large amounts of blood. Whereas Roni's grandmother, Luella Grogan, notices the police still parked outside their house. Hank tells her they're either searching for the missing kids or trying to pin the case on him. Luella tells him she already gave the police his alibi, that he was home in bed after watching the show with her. But Hank doubts they'll believe it. Luella insists they're only trying to intimidate him. Hank tells her to quiet down because Roni is asleep. Luella blames him for filling Roni's head with Hollywood fantasies and says Roni never should have let those kids in the theater, while Hank says the kids were only trying to learn what happened to Matty. She demands Roni return to school, but Hank refuses to let her out of his sight with the town watching and whispering about them, and he won't let his daughter out of his sight. Luella argues he can't protect Roni forever, but Hank ignores her and calls out to Roni, knowing she's been listening. Roni asks if the police will try to blame Hank and take him away. Hank reassures her, saying nothing will happen and everything will be okay. In the next scene, Hanlon, his wife Charlotte, and their son Will arrive at their new home in Derry, but the people around them keep their distance because the Hanlons are black. Charlotte tries to stay positive, saying it will take time for everyone to adjust. Inside the house, Will goes to his room and finds a telescope, a gift from his father, chosen based on Charlotte's reminders about their son's interests since Hanlon is often busy with work. Will and Hanlon then share a warm moment bonding over the telescope. At school, Marge tries to fit in with Patty's popular group, but they barely acknowledge her. When Roni arrives, the students whisper that her father is a criminal, just as they often whisper about Lily because of her father's death. Later, Marge spots Lily talking with Roni. In class, Marge approaches Lily and pretends to check on Lily after the theater incident, but quickly warns her that Patty and the other girls won't like seeing her with Roni. Marge invites Lily to sit with Patty's group at lunch, claiming she can help things go back to normal. Lily snaps, reminding her that Phil, Teddy, and Susie are dead, and she doesn't care about Marge's popular group at a time like this. Class begins, and Will arrives late. The teacher excuses him since it's his first day, but the other students stare at him for being black, and some even bully him by pulling his chair, causing him to fall. Later at the base, Hanlon goes to meet Colonel Fuller and notices Masters, the airman who refused to salute him earlier, coming out of Fuller's office. Fuller tells Hanlon they searched Masters' quarters, found the weapon used in the attack on him, and got Masters to confess. He explains that Masters isn't a Soviet spy, just a man trying to scare a black airman, and that such behavior won't be tolerated. Fuller says they are still trying to identify the other 2 intruders, but Fuller is confident Masters will eventually talk, and justice will be served. Hanlon thanks him. He then asks about the weapon recovered, saying he thought it looked like a Makarov PM in the dark. Fuller confirms it was an old Soviet Makarov. When Fuller asks why he wants to know, Hanlon says he just wants all the details straight for the day he tells his grandkids he stared death in the face. Later, Charlotte goes to the market and notices the under-construction Paul Bunyan statue, which many townspeople openly disapprove of. As she shops for dinner, Charlotte spots several kids beating up another boy while the adults nearby do nothing. She steps in to stop the attack, but the kids glare at her angrily, and the townspeople watch her with the same uneasy, judgmental looks, as if she is the one who crossed a line. That night, Charlotte tells Hanlon and Will about the incident she witnessed, the kids beating another boy while adults stood by, and how the townspeople looked at her like she was the crazy one for intervening. She asks Will if anyone is bullying him at school. Will lies and says no, even though he is being bullied, and then quietly goes to his room. That night, while Roni was asleep, she feels a heartbeat under her blanket and tries to pull it off, but it won't come off, as if she's trapped. Suddenly, she's pulled underwater and finds herself emerging from her mother's stomach. Her mother appears, accusing Roni of tearing her apart and killing her, just like she killed those kids and will kill her father next. Roni's mother turns demonic and tells her to come closer. Roni realizes they're connected by an umbilical cord and tries desperately to break free while Pennywise appears, ready to attack. With no choice, Roni bites through the cord. Her mother coldly says, "Look at the mess you made," and begins walking toward her. Terrified, Roni screams, only to suddenly find herself back in her room, where her father Hank rushes in and hugs her. Everything around her appears normal again. At the bar, Dick Halloran sits with his friends Jax and Reggie, talking about how the officers questioned everyone at the base after the attack on Hanlon. Jax asks how long Halloran was questioned, and Halloran says they didn't question him at all. When his friends ask what he did all day, Halloran replies that he can't talk about it, calling it a super secret spy mission, making them laugh, thinking he's joking. The police chief enters the bar, where a councilman confronts him about arresting Hank, the black man from the movie theater. The chief says the investigation is still ongoing, but the councilman insists everyone knows Hank killed the kids and warns the chief to do his job or he will be replaced in the next election. Frustrated, the chief spots Halloran and his friends at a table and orders the bar owner to throw them out. Sensing trouble, Halloran quickly leaves with his friends before anything escalates. Later, Halloran and his friends arrive at the airbase. The guard checks their IDs and tells them to wait while he contacts a higher-up. Halloran asks him to mention his name, saying he has special privileges, but the guard mocks him. Moments later, when the call comes through, the higher-up instructs the guard to let Halloran through to his quarters. Surprised, his friends start to believe that Halloran might actually be involved in a super-secret spy mission. The next morning, soldiers are digging at a remote site when Colonel Fuller approaches Halloran, irritated by the lack of progress. He accuses Halloran of wasting time and taking advantage of his special privileges, calling his psychic gifts a government-funded joke. Halloran insists they're close to finding something. Fuller warns him to be right before walking off. At school during lunch, Lily sits alone until Roni joins her to talk about what happened the previous night. Across the table, Patty's group gossips about why Lily is talking to Roni, and Marge tries to mock them to impress Patty. Meanwhile, Roni tells Lily that the thing from the theater has returned and warns that her father will be taken away and executed. Lily assures her that she told the police Hank wasn't there, but Roni pushes her to tell the full truth, that a monster came out of the screen. Lily, terrified of sounding insane, refuses. Their conversation grows tense as Roni accuses her of being too scared, while Lily insists she's already done all she can. Frustrated, Roni finally loses her temper and shouts at Lily, drawing the attention of everyone around them. Because of the outburst, Roni gets detention. Later, in the hallway, Will is reading his science book when a boy named Rich approaches him. They chat briefly. As Patty's group passes by, Rich smiles at Marge, who shows no interest. Suddenly, another student throws a stink bomb down the corridor, and Rich yells for Will to run foul. As the smoke spreads, Will tries to run away, but accidentally bumps into a teacher and falls. The teacher, thinking Will was responsible for the prank, angrily gives him detention. In detention, Will meets Roni, and they talk about how they both ended up there. Their conversation stops when they notice Lily being taken away by the police. At the police station, Lily insists she didn't see Hank Grogan the night of the murders, but the chief pressures her, reminding her of her past trauma and time at Juniper Hill. He warns that if she keeps denying Hank's presence, people might start seeing her as the suspect instead. Terrified of being sent back to the psychiatric asylum, Lily finally gives in and agrees that Hank Grogan was at the theater during the murders of Teddy, Phil, and Susie. Later, the police arrest Hank for the murders, and Roni storms to Lily's house in tears, demanding to know what she told them. Lily insists the chief tricked her, but Roni refuses to believe it. Lily's mother intervenes and orders Roni to leave, then slams the door shut. Roni storms out, shouting from the street, accusing Lily of lying and blaming her for her father's arrest. The next morning at the airbase, Hanlon visits Masters in the holding cell, convinced he wasn't the one who attacked him at the quarter. Bringing a Makarov PM pistol, Hanlon explains it's the same model used in the attack, rare and difficult to handle. Hanlon challenges Masters to load the gun, but Masters fails, proving Hanlon's suspicions that Masters was not the one who attacked him. Then, Hanlon meets General Shaw to report that Masters, though a racist, is innocent of the attack. Shaw tells him Masters already confessed, but Hanlon insists it was a lie and plans to request a new investigation. The general then asks Hanlon to sit, revealing the attack was a test for a special project. Shaw admits he orchestrated the attack to find a man like Hanlon, calling him a man without fear. When Hanlon demands to know who attacked him, Shaw refuses, saying he promised them to keep their identities secret. He apologizes, confirms Masters wasn't involved. At the supermarket, Lily browses the aisles when she hears someone whisper that she should be locked up, but no one is there. A man resembling Pennywise seems to follow her, and people around stare, making her panic. As she tries to leave, she sees Matty, Susie, Phil, and Teddy's faces on snack boxes. Her path is suddenly blocked again in the pickle section, where she finds her father's face inside a jar. Horrified, she smashes it, causing all the pickle jars to crash around her. Then her father appears, asking for one kiss for Papa. Terrified, Lily screams for him to leave her alone, only to awaken on the store floor as the shop owner shakes her, asking what happened. After the incident, Lily's mother takes her to Juniper Hill Asylum, ignoring Lily's desperate pleas not to be left there. The asylum staff smile at her in a disturbingly creepy way and lead Lily inside. General Shaw brings Hanlon into a restricted project briefing and explains Operation Precept, a classified DoD crash program intended to stop a Soviet plot to place nuclear warheads within striking range of the United States. General explains to find a buried weapon in Derry that generates debilitating fear and could be used to win the Cold War. The general says that, once located, will pinpoint the weapon's exact position, and he needs Hanlon there because Hanlon's lack of fear makes him uniquely suited to retrieve it. As General speaks, Fuller interrupts with news from the dig site. They may have found something. Then, General Shaw, along with Hanlon, Fuller, and Halloran, arrives at the dig site where they discover a buried vehicle containing human skeletons. The remains are believed to belong to a group of gangsters who vanished years ago, and the episode 2 ends. And that wraps up Welcome to Derry. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell for more chilling movie stories. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.